Ricketts.
Well, thank you to all the witnesses for being here today and sharing your perspectives on the improvements as the committee works to reauthorize this important legislation. We all know that chemicals are essential for modern life. In agriculture, this includes chemicals used in crop protection tools, livestock production, and irrigation systems. These sectors are the economic backbone of my home state of Nebraska. As a matter of fact, Nebraska is a global leader in the production of irrigation systems. Vinyl chloride is a necessary chemistry for the irrigation tubing, hoses, and drip lines. In addition, chemicals and manufacturing inputs like formaldehyde also play a critical role in other key sectors. Obviously, we just discussed the semiconductor industry. Over 500 chemicals go into making a single chip. Even though these chemistries are known to be safe, the TSCA review process has created more bottlenecks than actual progress to compete across the world. Without reform, innovative chemistries that are safe for the environment are left in R&D pipelines instead of being used by industry and consumers. Frankly, this is kind of contrary to what we want. We want newer, safer chemicals rather than using the older ones that are not as safe. This dynamic undermines, not advances, environmental progress. It dampens investment into the industry. Streamlining the approval process for chemistries that have already been verified represents a meaningful process improvement reflected in the discussion draft. By creating a more efficient pathway for previously reviewed substances, the EPA can prioritize resources toward evaluating truly new chemistries. Getting the regulatory environment right is critical for food security, energy security, and national security. We need to make sure that we're verifying these alternatives and move forward without unnecessary delay. Dr. Engler and Mr. Isaacs, how can we continue to strengthen and ensure industry continues to onshore chemical development in the U.S. rather than industry looking at countries overseas? Dr. Engler, we'll start with you.
Critical is predictable timelines. The CCI has not taken a formal position on 90-day review time. Maybe EPA needs more time. CCI has always felt that we don't want bad decisions faster. So EPA absolutely needs the resources, they need the expertise, they need the independence, and they need the time to do the review. But these reviews have been very unpredictable, both in terms of the timeline and in terms of the outcome. And that has led to a significant economic disruption for our members. And many of them have abandoned the U.S. TSCA market, and they register elsewhere in the world, Europe, Canada, Asia Pacific, with much more predictability, and we are poorer for it because those products are not available to our companies and to our consumers.
Mr. Isaacs, Dr. Engler talked about timelines. Do you have other things that you would think would help us onshore some of these industries?
Yes, well, I think we need to take a holistic approach to a range of issues in terms of onshoring the semiconductor supply chain. And I would add chips are an increasingly important input into agricultural machinery used by farmers in your state and others. And so, that includes, everything from tax policy to workforce policy and others. But with regard to chemicals, I think having a appropriate level of review based on the controls employed and the real life conditions and risks at play will, and certainty and predictability will result in a favorable outcome in terms of attracting new investment.
Ensuring the best available science serves as the foundation for TSCA reviews. The discussion draft includes a provision that would establish robust peer review of risk evaluations. A true risk-based approach to reviewing and regulating chemicals is vital. Yet in the past, we've seen EPA ignore these how these chemicals are used in real-world industrial settings, such as Mr. Isaacs, you were talking about, such as assuming non-compliance with OSHA requirements. For example, EPA does not assume that workers are using PPE even when mandated by OSHA. Additionally, EPA is establishing occupational exposure limits using methodologies that are inconsistent with current best practices. In some cases, this results in standards that are hundreds of times lower than the rest of the world. The discussion draft includes language on peer review, which is a good step towards increasing scientific rigor. Dr. Engler, would directing EPA to evaluate robust risk-based chemical reviews and adhere to clear scientific standards strengthen and clarify the existing TSCA framework?
Yeah, I think so, and I think it would also, it would make it more predictable and more consistent. We would get less variability between and among assessors. So again, we'd get more predictability in terms of the outcome. It would be clear to submitters what testing they need to do to inform EPA's risk assessment.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.